Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Ida and today I'm doing the Booktube Newbie Tag. Now I do have the questions down here on my iPad, so that is why I'm looking down at certain points just to see the questions. And I've had this channel for a month now, but I have been watching Booktube for years before I technically started this channel, so I thought it would be fun to do a video like this and answer the questions. Now, the first question is, why did you start this channel? And like I said, I have been watching Booktube for years and I love it. I love the videos, I love the communities, and I have been wanting to do this for years, quite literally. But for some reason, it wasn't the time and I didn't do it. But now this month or in November, I decided to do this. And one of the reasons is that I needed a place where I can chat about books, because I am a librarian. I'm an educated librarian. I have a degree in library and information science, and I wanted a place to talk about books, and not just books that are, you know, for certain things, but books that I really want to read, books that I want to recommend to people, you know, just coming from me, not having to be like, I've been working with teenagers and I've loved most of it, and to not always have to be so concerned with if the book is right or not. So that is one of the reasons. The second reason is that I'm looking for friends. I'm looking for a community of people that love books just as much as I do, and to be able to bond over books, anime and manga. That would be fantastic. So that is my hopes and dreams for this channel. Now, the second question is, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? Now, like I mentioned, I am a librarian. I have a degree in library and information science. I also have 2 years of film school and I'm currently studying theology. So I do hope to bring, I don't know, kind of a new twist on Booktube, where I can bring the knowledge I have from my educations into book recommendations and do recommendation for certain things. And I would also, some point down the line, like to do some videos about searching, doing maybe academic writing, especially in terms of reference work, and add a reference to papers and stuff. But that is like way down there, so we're not there yet, but that is something I would like to add. And of course I would love to do my own twists on blogs, on book recommendations, and do a very diverse channel where I basically read a little bit of everything. So that is my plans for right now. Now, question number 3, what are you most excited for about this new channel? And I think for me, it's the bit of the outlet, to be able to be creative in this way. It's been years since I have edited film, and I have become very fond of editing. It wasn't something I loved to do in school because we had to edit certain things, and I did mostly lighting in those videos, so I wasn't like the best editor. So to be able to do those types of videos right now, I think is very fun, to be able to be creative in that way. And of course, and maybe even more so, the social aspect, and to be able to read books and have comment on, you know, things that are going on in the book world as well, and to be up to date with that, I think is very important, and I'm looking forward to having those discussions with the community. Now, question number 4, why do you love reading? And that is a big one, because I don't think I can remember a time where I wasn't reading, because as far as my mum's told me, she was reading to me before I was born, and have always been reading in some way or another. I did have, funny enough, 4 years when I was doing my degree where I wasn't reading for myself at all, because there was so much required reading that I didn't have the capacity. And for those of you who don't know me, I do have some reading difficulties, so for me to have a lot going on at once made it really hard to read for myself, to read for pleasure. But I love to read. It really helps me be grounded. Now, I do read 98% via audiobook, and for me, an audiobook, one, it's of course a way to escape and to block the world out, but it's also a way to relax my brain. It's a way to just sit and enjoy the power of the written word. I really appreciate that. And to be read to is something I truly enjoy, especially if the narrator is very talented, you know, like Jeremy Irons. But of course, those don't grow on trees. But it's something about the power of the written word that I just find so magical. And I really love to read, also to read physically. I wish I could do more of it, and I will do more of it when school starts again. So I don't know, it's something magical about reading that I can't quite put my finger on, that I really love. And of course, if you can read, the entire world is open to you. You can do pretty much anything you want to do if you can read, if you have the power to read either via audio or physically. So it's something to me that is definitely magic. That's why I love to read. Now, question number 5. What books or series got you into reading? And here I might be touching on a sore topic, but Harry Potter was definitely a part of my growing up. And I mentioned this before, I am not standing by what J.K. Rowling has said. And this is a channel that is open for all sexualities and all genders. So everyone is welcome here. But I will say that I do love Harry Potter, and I always will love the world of Harry Potter and the books that we were so kindly given. And it was definitely a huge part of my reading experience. Now, I'm Norwegian, and the first full book I read was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, because we were in England on the day of its release, and I wasn't able to get the Norwegian version of that book. So I bought the brick that book was, and I read it on our trip. And I grew up with Harry, you know, I grew up with Harry Potter. I was on the premiere of the last film. I was in England when the last book was released. So it's very near and dear to me. So I find what happened heartbreaking, but I still had to mention that part because it was a huge part of my journey, as was books like The Little Vampire, Sophie's World, Roald Dahl, and a bunch of others that my parents read to me. And also one that I actually really want to mention is Jules Verne. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, he was a French author and is renowned for being the father of science fiction. And he wrote some of the most amazing books I've ever read, like Around the World in 80 Days, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And those books are fantastic. So if you haven't read them, like, go to the library and rent them right now, because they're fantastic adventure stories. And the films you've seen haven't done the books justice, let me tell you that. And of course, the one book that really hooked me, I was 16 and I was reading Dracula by Bram Stoker. I'm now 32 and it's still my favorite book on the planet Earth. I just adore that book. Again, none of the films have done the book any kind of justice at all, but the book itself is a piece of magic, and I love Bram Stoker's writing. So that is also a book that got me into reading, even though I was 16 at the time. And of course, Mortal Instruments as well was a series that hooked me. So a lot of books to mention, and I could sit here all night, but we don't have the time for that. But the next question is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? And I do have a lot of favorite booktubers. We have Becca and the Books, we have Emmy, we have Katie's Reading, Haley and Bookland, A Clockwork Reader, all of which were around when I started my, booktube journey. And I think one of the things I would like to ask is, how did you get where you are? What did you do? How did you stick with it in order to create the wonderful communities that you have? Because I would personally love some advice. And also probably to chat about my favorite books. That would be brilliant. So that is some things I would like to ask. Now, question number 7. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? And I think that would be to keep going. Like, if you don't get enough subscribers or enough views, the motivation to keep going, I think. But Also, I do find a lot of joy in it, so I will probably stick to this because I love it so much. But that is one thing. And of course, the pressure to read. Like I mentioned, I am a student of theology. We have a lot of required reading, so not to have the pressure to have to read so much and to constantly keep up with things. That I think will be a challenge in terms of reading and time dedicated to reading. But of course, that is the beauty of audiobooks and a Kindle, because I can pretty much read anywhere, like on the train or wherever I am pretty much. So that is a luxury that I never take for granted. Now, question 8, when did you start reading? And like I said, I have pretty much always been reading even before I was born. So the answer to that would be always, but I think technically I started when I was, I don't know, I must have been 8 or 9 maybe. I can't quite remember because I've been reading forever. So maybe I'm just going to go with forever on that one. Where did you read? Everywhere. I was the girl at the party that always had a book. On the rare occasion I actually went to any kind of party at all, I would be bringing a book. I would always have a book with me. So I have been reading everywhere. On the train, on the plane, in a chair, you know, basically everywhere and anywhere. And that is one of the things I really love about this hobby as well. You can do it anywhere, anytime. And it doesn't, you know, steal away from anything. It adds to it. And I love that. What kind of books do you like to read? Now, I've been talking about what I have been reading. And for this question, I am going to look a bit further on because of Booktube, I have become a really diverse reader. And I do love to read classics. Gothic horror is my favorite genre. But I love to read, even though I'm 32, you know, I love to read YA books. I love to read middle grade. I love to read comics. I love to read manga. So I pretty much read from all the genres and all the spectrums. Like nothing is like, oh my God, I don't ever want to read horror, because I started to dabble into horror 2 years ago and I've loved it. You know, some books aren't a hit, but it's been an interesting journey. And if the book is well written, has good structure and good characters, it doesn't really matter to me what type of format it is, whether it's audio or a comic or manga, a graphic novel. I can pretty much read anything if I find it interesting. So that is probably my answer, is anything. But my preference, like my personal preference, of course we all have those, is definitely fantasy books. I love fantasy, I love science fiction, huge Star Wars fan, as you can see by my tattoo here. So, and of course Lord of the Rings as well. I have a tattoo of the Even Star as well. So I'm definitely a diverse reader, but fantasy and science fiction are definitely my top 2 preference in terms of reading. And romance too, I will have to add romance, if it's a good one, of course. Now, the last question is 11. Sometimes done. It says in parentheses, first, what does your book collection look like? Now, I have this Billy bookcase. It's not a full one, it's a half one. And I have one of those here and another one in my bedroom. And my family have books everywhere, pretty much, because I'm a huge reader. My mum's a huge reader. My brother is also a huge reader. So in my, you know, other room in this house, we have a huge bookcase. And there are books under the stairs, there are books in the shelves and all over. So, but my collection is very diverse. It has a little bit of everything in it, which I love. It's not that big. And that is mostly due to funds. If I had more funds, it would probably be even bigger. I am missing some manga in my collection, but it's a lot of diverse stuff and a lot of everything in my library, which I'm very proud of actually, and I really enjoy being a diverse reader. So this was my Booktube Newbie Tag, and I really hope you want to stick around for 2023. I have a lot of exciting plans for this channel, and I am really looking forward to continuing this journey with you guys and see where it goes, and look back in a year and see, oh my god, you know, I've grown so much. That would be very fun to do, and I would love to do some interesting new videos and new takes on that, and get better at editing vlogs and try to stay on top of trends as much as I can, while at the same time being myself and not staying on top of trends. So a bit of a paradox there, but then again, I think we all are paradoxes. So I hope you stick around, and I'll be see you again for 2023. Bye guys.